Well, it's Rick here. We're down at the barn tonight, and as the title says, we're enjoying a fine cigar and a little bit of Jack Daniels. The cigar of choice tonight is an acid Cuba Cuba. The acid Cuba Cuba is a Nicaraguan-based cigar. This particular one is a Robusto that's got a nice mellow taste, mild and smooth. The Cuba Cubas come in different varieties now. They offer different ones. This is the original, but they offer a Maduro, which normally I'm a big fan of Maduros. They're a little bit darker and a little bit richer in flavor. They got I'd have to sneak here at this, the Cuba Candelaria. It's a green, sweet, and exceedingly unique cigar. The Cuba Deluxe Tubo, it's a Toro-sized Cuba Cuba, smooth and mellow. And then they also offer the acid Cuba Cuba Grande in a limited edition Gordo size. It's a slow burning cigar. So there's your different varieties. You can pick these up. They're cigars by the Drew Estate. It's an international, Cigars International offers them. This particular cigar, a pack of 5 will run you about $50, which isn't too bad. And so far I'm enjoying it. Good tasting cigar. The Jack Daniels of choice tonight is the Single Barrel Select. This particular bottle was given to me by, oh, by the way, let's get back to this cigar a second. I picked this up today at lunchtime from one of my co-workers, Zach. You might remember Zach from the kayak fishing video there on Saunders Spring at Fort Knox. He and another co-worker, Ken, I kind of bumped into them in their little secret hideaway meeting spot, if you want to say, afternoon meeting spot, away from the office, away from the building, and they were sitting there finishing up a cigar. And rather than to just join them by lighting up, I said, well, I think I'll just smoke this one tonight, and give Ken and Zach credit for coming up with the cigar of choice tonight. So that's the background behind this thing. The Jack Daniels itself, I got the Single Barrel Select. It was a gift, a Christmas gift from another co-worker. She was the company first sergeant there at the Recruiting and Retention College where I work at, and she was a very kind person, very supportive of me in the role I played there in the logistics department, and I know she appreciated my support in the things that she needed there, and she's always been kind and nice, and every Christmas she'd treat me with a bottle of Jack. Although she's not a Jack drinker herself, she certainly knows it's my drink of choice. So thank you, Amy, for the Jack. We're drinking that tonight in honor and memory of you, and the cigar from Ken and Zach. So I was talking to Ken, and he said he was telling his wife about the YouTube channel I had. Said of all people, he would never believe that Rick Russell would have a YouTube channel. And to know me, that's probably a pretty fair statement. In fact, I had immediately said, yeah, Mr. Personality here, with a YouTube channel, sharing his personal life and personal ventures and stuff like that. That would be kind of odd or unusual to figure out, because at work it's always business, 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 and so. But I said, yeah. I got hooked on, and I think that's the right term, is hooked on it. Hooked on YouTube during the pandemic of 2020. I wasn't a big TV person. I spent a lot of time down at the barn, and I like doing something all the time. Like from the minute I get up in the morning to the minute I go to bed, I'm actively doing something. I'm not a sit at the couch, watch TV kind of guy. As soon as I get home and supper's on the table, eat supper, and go watch TV until bedtime. That's not in my realm of living life or whatever. So I'm always doing something. And I found myself doing it a lot down at the barn, but there was some TV watching, and during 2020 with the pandemic, and everything just pretty much shut down across the country, to include television. I found myself watching reruns, what shows I did watch, and I was a big CBS channel guy, NCIS Los Angeles, and FBI, Blue Bloods, kind of the series type shows and stuff that you'd watch from one week to the next to the next. Well, they'd stopped, and I was like, well, what else is out there and all that. And I think it was my son or something. I've known about YouTube. I mean, YouTube was if I need to fix a door latch on my truck, then YouTube it. It was a how-to source for me to look up stuff that I needed to do and needed to fix. Well, I got playing around on the computer there, and next thing I know, I came across this channel, JoeandZachSurvival, and I tell you, I was immediately hooked. JoeandZachSurvival is it's a YouTube about life in survival modes, if you want to say, or life in the outdoors, hunting, fishing, camping, cooking. It was Joe and his son Zach, and they did survival type videos, and of course I had years and years of catching up with the channel itself. And but they had this one series, the tent series, and it was a tent that they had fixed up that, when you really look at it from the inside, you'd almost think it's a cabin. But because of the rules up there for building and stuff like that, he couldn't really build a cabin on the piece of property he had on this lake. And it takes years and years, I reckon, to get permits to be able to do that. And he's been doing this for years and still hasn't got to that point. But it's a canvas wall tent with plywood on the inside for the walls and insulation on the top, and you got your wood stove in there. He's got a porch on the back. It's on a lake, an unknown lake, by the way. And just a beautiful place, But what hooked me the most was it was the deer season 2018 opener or something that I was watching, and it was Joe and his son Zach and his daughter Sarah, and they're up there together deer hunting. And when I'm talking about deer hunting in northern Minnesota, this was cold weather. And I guess at this particular time, I don't know, Zach was probably in his late 20s, mid 20s, and Sarah may be in her late 20s. But these kids were suited up, and they were out there. They dropped off at their deer stand, or on the road to their deer stand, take the path out to the deer stand. You're talking 10-degree weather or below. Up there in the deer stand hunting most of the day. It's not like in my deer videos where I'm in a nice warm tent with a propane heater and I got a chair and a cot there if my daughter wants to take a nap or something. And I mean, these kids were roughing it out there and enjoying it. And it was family. It was son and daughter, and it reminded me of my hunting days with Ricky when he was younger, and he and I would be down at the deer camp in Beech Grove, and we were in a camper and we'd go out hunting because they'd always hunted with me. And then certainly Kelsey, whenever she started hunting, I started them both out. I think Ricky shot his first deer when he was 9 years old, and Kelsey shot hers when she was 12. It wasn't about killing deer. I don't even know if they killed a deer that season. But it was the fun that they were having, picking them up, talking about what they seen, talking about what they didn't see, about it being cold, and the preparation for hunting, and the camaraderie just with that family group. And it reminded me a lot of when I was much younger hunting. And probably the biggest mistake I ever made back then was not taking my 16-year-old daughter, the oldest one at the time, down to the deer camp hunting. And back in the 80s, I guess it was 80s, maybe even early 90s. Deer camp wasn't for the girls, and it's just something that with my two youngest kids from my current marriage, I did not do that. In fact, I've always told both my kids, whether we go hunting or fishing, regardless of who's going with me, regardless of how long we're going, regardless of where we're going, if they want to go, there's always a seat in the truck for them. Because I firmly believe in that old saying that take a kid fishing, you never know, one day they may take you. And that's certainly something that I did my do-over with, and I took the older kids, the older girls fishing before, but it really wasn't much into the hunting itself. But enough of that. back to the YouTube part of it, but it was about family, as camaraderie, and it just took me back, and it reminded me so much of what hunting is all about. And it's not about killing all the time, but it is about family, and it's about the memories that are made while you're out there doing it. Now they have the tent series, and there's various things that happen at the tent. They have opening deer season, and that'll usually be a 2 or 3 part series. You'll call it the movie because they'll run about an hour or longer a piece, and then opening fishing, where they go up there and they're on opening day of fishing, and it's something that this family has done for year after year after year after year, and they continue to do. Not at the tent, but Joe and Zach Survival's got another series, the duck season, duck opener, and I was just looking at the 2018 duck opening season, and that was the 61st year that somebody from Joe's family has been going on opening duck season at this one particular campsite. And it's a campsite where it's all tents and stuff. They all bring their tents and pop them up and stuff. So you would have Joe and his dad, and you can go back to when his dad's dad took him deer hunting now. So it's just Joe and his dad, the kid's grandpa, and then you'll have Joe's brother Chris and his wife and their son, and for 61 years in 2018. So you're talking, well, I guess 66 years now, because the 2023 season's coming up here soon, September 23rd, I believe it is. They'll have their 2023 duck opener, and that'll be the 66th year that as a family they've gone up there duck hunting. And I got hooked. I got hooked on it, and I said, man, those are memories that those kids can go back and look at for a long, long time. And of course, that led me to other videos. Joe and Zach Survival's, he's got I guess you call it a sister channel. He's got what he calls NorthernSeclusion. That's where Joe describes himself as a guy from Minnesota, meets up with a gal from Louisiana, and together they have this farmstead up in Minnesota, and it's more about life around the farm, chickens, garden, more into prepping type stuff. They do a lot of canning, a lot of freeze-dried stuff. The gal, his woman Melissa, she's got her channel as the Rooster Crows, so it's all about farm cooking and stuff, and the work that Joe does around the property, cutting firewood. He's got a wood burner stove and all this, and so cutting firewood for it. He's building a guest house. His trade is he's in the construction work, home building and stuff like that. And the guy can build anything, and has built just about everything from 2-story homes to a porch on your front of your house. You know, you name it, Joe can build it. And he learned learned his skills from his father, who also does building and what a wood crafting person he is, you know. you can look at some of the furniture he's made out of different types of trees and stuff, and really good entertainment, good stuff to watch. So if I had to name my #1 YouTube channel, my go-to channel, the one that I wait for every week for it to come out, it would certainly be Joe and Zach Survival. Followed closely right there beside it with Northern Seclusion, and sometimes the two kind of tie into each other. Depending on what part of the trip he's on. You know, he might do a lot of the prepping. He'll be in Northern Seclusion, but when he actually heads to the tent, it'll be under Joe and Zach Survival. And then Zach also those videos in there. He's quite the guy when it comes to fixing stuff, and he's married. He's got his wife Samantha, and they'll do some camping videos, and they got a young daughter by the name of Rose now, and she's just a youngin', but he's taken her on fishing trips and camping trips. In fact, I think this year they went on their first tent trip together, Zach and Rose. So all about family, and I think that's what got me hooked the most, and I probably said that 3 times already, maybe 5. We'll have to go back and count. Outdoors with the Morgans. Outdoors with the Morgans is a guy, Mike Morgan, and his wife Melissa. They're from Pennsylvania, and I got watching him cut firewood, of all things. He was cutting firewood, and it's hard to explain, and my buddies, you know, they think I'm stupid, but to sit there and watch a 15-20 minute video of somebody cutting firewood, until you've done it, you really don't know what you're missing. But he's taken his video from cutting firewood as a side job, because he worked as a blaster for different type of jobs, whether it's road crews or whatever. He'll go out on the road and do blasting for a living. And he's gone from that with his channel over the last couple years to the YouTube channel is now his moneymaker. He gave up his full-time job, and he's nothing but about making YouTubes now, and it's about life in the outdoors with family. They're at his home in Pennsylvania. He has about 100 acres. It's tractors, Kubota tractors, skid loaders, cutting firewood. He had a building built. He's got some property in West Virginia he's working with now. He's got a beautiful wife, Melissa. They got their golden retriever dogs with them, and she's real big with the dogs. And they have a son. Well, they got 2 sons and 2 daughters, I believe. Hannah is married and moved away right now, and then he's got a son that lives next door on the property, who he's hired full-time working with him, and he does a lot of the work that Mike doesn't particularly care to do, but a lot of the video and a lot of helping is Melissa with merchandise and shipping it and stacking firewood, and but he's got his son and his wife and grandchild there close by. It's all family run type deal, family atmosphere, and then they have a son who's autistic, nonverbal, and it's really amazing. It's really amazing, me not ever having an autistic child, but certainly having a special needs grandchild, to relate to the challenges they have as a couple. The boy's name is Hunter, and he's 31 years old, and they centered their life around that kid. He does the things he does now on his channel. His channel's allowed him to learn how to be, well, his son is really what pushed him more toward the channel, because it's something that he can do at home and be there for his son when his son needs him, when his wife needs him. You know, whether it's to take him to Sheets to get his favorite chicken sandwich, or give him his haircut on Sunday mornings and whatnot, and YouTube has allowed him to be able to do that and grow and give up his full-time job, and now make a living doing YouTubes. And trust me, making YouTubes, keeping up with content and all that isn't as easy as a lot of people think it might be. A lot of people get into it and they get right back out of it. But he's done a lot with his channel. Very interesting, very good person, fun to listen to. I almost had the opportunity to visit or to see him and his wife Melissa in Louisville, Kentucky, but the weather got bad, and airports got snowed in, and they wasn't able to make the trip down. But I'd already taken off work and was ready to go, and at the last minute it ended up canceling. And that would have been my first YouTuber I would have been able to meet in person at these meet and greets and stuff like that. So definitely a good channel if you want to check it out. Outdoors with the Morgan. There's a channel out there called Jay in the Woods, or Jay Legere, Legre. This is a guy from the Northwest Territories of Canada. I came across his channel. He's also a tent camper, and he's in tents up in what's got to be the coldest. I mean, he's about as far north as I think a person can really comfortably live, and he's a big fan of the Russian Bear Tent Company, and he's got his wall tent up there, and wood stove, cuts his firewood. It's like the only time he could get to the tent area is during the worst of the weather, when the lakes are all frozen over. He can snowmobile up to it and all that. He just recently, very recently, bought a boat to where he can get to it when the lakes aren't frozen. But being up in the Northwest Territories of Canada, the scenery is absolutely beautiful. The cooking, all these shows that I'm getting ready to talk to you about, all these channels, maybe with the exception of the ones on Firewood, but JoeandZachSurvival, NorthernSeclusion, Jay Legere. I want to talk about a couple more here. all of them center around food too. I mean, outdoor cooking, cooking on grills, cooking in smokers, cooking on open fire, camping, tent camping in cold weather, snow, rain, and it just got me all pumped up. It's like I told the wife, I said, you know, we were talking about getting a new camper, and I'm like, I'm ready to get a wall tent. I want to get a Lacnac tent or the Kodiak tent. She certainly thinks I'm crazy for wanting to do that, but and I know Will does. Will's like, I don't want to be camping in no tent whenever I can crawl inside the camper. And granted, it is nice. It's nice being down at the deer camp and you've been sitting down in the deer blind and it gets down to 20-degree weather and you're cold and you come in for lunchtime and you can walk in the camper and flip a switch and have 65 to 85-degree heat in no time flat. You know, yeah, that's nice, but I kind of miss the old tent camping days too. You know, it's got me wanting to go back and do a little bit of that, and that's what this Jay Legree guy does. And the guy, when I first started watching, I'm like, this guy doesn't have a clue what he's doing. He's out here, he doesn't know how to start a fire. He doesn't even know how to operate a chainsaw. It was just, it's just some guy who loves the outdoor. The colder the better, and he starts up his YouTube channel, and he grew over time with it. If you watch some of his current stuff, in fact, last week, up in Canada, of course, we all know about the wildfires up there. The town, the city, the town he's from had a mandatory evacuation. And while everybody else is loaded up and heading miles and miles to the nearest town, he just heads out of the way of the fire and throws a tent in the back of the truck, and he's out there surviving. And he'll be one of the first ones to be able to return back to his home, and he was able to do that, and thank goodness there was no damage to the town. Fire didn't come into it. The fire breaks and all did what they were supposed to do. And but I watched a guy who didn't have a clue at the very beginning 2 or 3 years ago, to be able to go out and survive on his own in a tent during a real world emergency evacuation and in a preparatory type environment, and be able to survive it with no problem at all. And loves to cook, and open fire cooking on a stove, and the same. So Jay Legree, another good channel to watch. Another northern Minnesota. This one's all the way up on the Canadian border. It's called North Woodsman 1. It's an older gentleman. He has access to a log cabin up there that's certainly seen its better days. But he goes up there and he'll just spend time at the cabin, a lot of times by himself, and he'll do his cooking. He'll feed Canada jays as they come down to his hands. He builds trails through the woods out there. He has his little walking paths, and it's just an old guy enjoying life, the peace and quiet of being in the woods. Again, he'll get into his cooking of his deer steaks and different meals and stuff, and his wife's famous pies, cherry pies and stuff, and real easy video to watch. Again, great scenery. Just makes me want to load the truck up and head north. And I want to tell you, I'll do it. I'll last for about a day and a half, and I'm freezing to death, and I'll be home because it looks good on video, but I don't know that I can handle the cold like they do. But I certainly am going to give it a try. Another channel that I really enjoy is White Rook 85. White Rook 85, a guy by the name of Thomas, is from Pennsylvania. Well, they have a camp in Pennsylvania, and it's a camp that consists of it's a camp that, man, I apologize, Thomas, if I were lucky enough to get any of these people to ever watch my channel, I apologize for not knowing Senior. You always refer to him as Senior. Well, Senior was the father. Senior was a good friend of Thomas's, and one of the other members of the camp is a guy by the name of Michael, who goes by the handle of the chairman. And this is a camp of guys that all meet up there, and they periodically during the year, he'll do solo trips up there. White Rook 85 will, and that's the handle he goes by. And he may be up there with just his son. His son is Syntax 77. He'll be up there, and he's got his own channel that he does a lot of backpacking and stuff on that. I'll kind of watch that too. But White Rook 85 is a camp that's got Thomas, his son, Syntax 77, the chairman, and then they have a guy they call the cook, and they got medical man, and it's all about hunting. It's about trout fishing in the spring, but more importantly, it's the camaraderie of a bunch of guys who just enjoy being together as a group. They really got me interested in IPA beers, and although I've never tried one, these guys they get IPA beers sent to them from all over the place, and some of this stuff is so exotic to me. You know, I'm a lightweight beer drinker, and you know, and I spent 12 years in Germany, so I say I'm a lightweight. I like a good old German Pilsner beer, and I've drank just about some of the best beer in the world comes out of Germany. But they're IPA beers, cigar smoking, and deer hunting, camp talk, cooking competitions. They'll bring up steaks, and they have a smoker up there, and again, the same type of stuff, right up the alley that I grew up with. I remember the days of the beginning of Deer Camp Beach Grove started with myself, another guy by the name of Jim Sperlin, who was from Tennessee, and Ray Van. We were the founders of Deer Camp Beech Grove, and we hunted very close to the same property we do right now. And Oscar Jones was our host that would always make sure we had a place to hunt. He would give us an update on the deer and all that. And it was all our first year in 1984. We were in a tent, and then after that, we cleaned up the corn crib and tore down a bunch of sheds on Fort Knox and used all the woods, and we built the cabin, and the cabin lasted for years until finally it burnt down. And but that's what this camp here with White Brook 85 in Pennsylvania reminds me so much of, the camaraderie, the poker games, the watching the movies, and just sitting around bullshitting, running into town, pizza, getting a big breakfast, you know, and just a good, clean entertainment to watch, and certainly right up there. I guess I'm supposed to kind of rank order these things, and I've rambled on enough as it is, but when you go from Joe and Zach Survival, family, Northern Seclusion, a sister station with that, and then Outdoors with the Morgans, family, and then I would probably say White Brook 85 is the next one in line. The camaraderie of a bunch of deer hunting buddies that meet up every year, frequently during the year. They're always doing something at the camp, improving it. Would be up there in my top 3 choices. And then you get into Jay Legree and the North Woodsman #1, purely for the outdoorsy type stuff, the camping, the solitude. These are guys that are now Martin is the old man at North Woodsman 1. Martin has a buddy, I believe his name is George, that comes up there, and he'll visit with him, and they sit there and they talk about the old times and stuff like that. But White Brook 85 is definitely a go-to video of mine. And then after that is a channel, TRE RUNS-WILD, TRE RUNS-WILD. It's a retired police officer, and he's from Minnesota, and he's got him a piece of property in a cabin. It was actually, I think he described it as a shed that he turned into a cabin. And he retired this past year, having been with the police force for so many years, and now his videos are about his outdoor ways at the cabin. Cooking is always up there. I mean, it's always about cooking and the foods that they cook, and the different things he does, pulling sap out of the trees, picking blueberries, blackberries, and building to make his little place, his little piece of property, his own private getaway, and certainly enjoyable to watch. And in fact, this week he may be back now, but he took a trip to Alaska and shared some of his adventures up in Alaska, up at Denali National Forest and different places. So TRE RUNS-WILD. They all have that common theme, that common story, but it's, to me, I'm not trying to mirror them. They are me. I mean, they live the life that I enjoy living myself. They're just able to do it in parts of the country that I haven't been privileged to be a part of. I come down here and sit down at the barn, and I'm perfectly happy down here doing my own little projects and working on my own little things, and I'll stay here till it's 10:30, time to head up and give the dog and the cats their treats and head to bed and go to work the next day, you know. So that's my peace and the part of life I enjoy a lot too. And I, you know, the wife, she always said it's a shame that you have to drive 2 hours to go to Beech Grove just to be able to get away from things and relax, get away from all the stress and stuff. And I said, I don't have to drive two hours to do that. I just walk out the back door to the barn, and I'm perfectly fine down here, and enjoy that. So I'm gonna try to wrap this up because I don't want it too long or nobody will watch it. But let's see, we got Joe and Zach Survival, Northern Seclusion, Outdoors with the Morgan, White Rook 85, Jay Legree, North Woodsman 1, and then kind of right behind them, it kind of gets into the Firewood lumber cutting genre of channels. There's one out there called Back 40 Firewood. He puts on a pretty entertaining video. He and his wife, they're a smaller scale firewood business, but they cut a lot of trees from locally a tree service guy, and very entertaining. He puts on a live video every Friday. He'll sit out there and chat with his followers and stuff, and I like watching that on Friday nights. Ohio Woodburner, from up in the northeast part of Ohio. He's got it figured out. He's got firewood business down. He does firewood 365 days a year, and he learned real quick that cutting firewood small and clean. He has businesses with these restaurant business. They need firewood year round to burn. So he has several restaurants that he provides firewood for, but he's taken his from his backyard to renting a piece of property and made his log hauler where he'll buy his firewood sticks from, logs from, turned him into a YouTube favorite, log hauler Jesse. And he goes through the life of being a firewood processor, a premier firewood processor, and really, really enjoyable to watch. And Hometown Acres, another guy this guy was go to work 5 days a week, 9 to 5, an accountant making good money as he was a senior accountant. And I know what senior accountants in the Army make, and they're up into 6 figures. So I figured he was up in about that time range. And like Mike Morgan, he left that life to live the life of producing YouTubes and doing the things he enjoyed doing every day at home. And his is in the firewood business and some home projects and stuff like that. Really good channel to watch, Hometown Acres. And then There's Lumber Capital Log Yard, which is two teenage girls who mill wood. They cut slab wood and boards and stuff like that. It's a family-run business. They got the boss man, their dad, and the boss lady, their mom, and then they got a brother that does all the firewood splitting. But go back and look at their lifestyle. It's a family-run business, cutting firewood, cutting lumber, and one of my top channels I like to watch. There's Michygoss, I believe is the way it is. Her name's Michelle, I haven't quite figured out yet if it's her husband or if they're together. But her man Steve, they own property up in Canada. They're Canadian. They're up in Canada. She's a nurse by trade, what got me hooked on her channel was she's got a series. It's called Building a Cabin on a Cliff, and let me tell you, this is a cliff, and it's on a beautiful lake up in Canada, and she does 99% of the work herself. Every once in a while, she's got to get Steve to help her do something, but this girl's a beast. I mean, she scares the hell out of me watching her build on the side of this cliff, she's almost got this cabin built, but it's certainly something really interesting to watch, and very entertaining video, and unbelievable some of the things that she mills her own wood. She's a hoarder of wood. She'll take anything scrap and turn it into a usable product. You know, she doesn't waste anything. And right up there in my lumber cutting and wood milling and stuff like that videos. And then I'll wrap this up with fishing videos. Cole and Jay, a couple from Arkansas who live on a nice lake down there. They do some great videos, crappie fishing, catfishing, bass fishing. He's on the lake 360 days out of the year. Just a young couple. They got 2 kids now. Watched them grow up over the last 2 or 3 years. Always good to keep up with them. Richard Jean, the fishing machine, a pan fisherman kind of guy, crappie fisherman, bluegill, catfish, a crazy guy, an Alabama dude that loves his Alabama football, and you can certainly tell it. A fun guy to watch, and if you want to, for entertainment and to learn about different ways of fishing, he's certainly a good channel to watch. And then another one, it's kind of, you kind of think this guy, it's a hook, line, and chill. It's a guy from around Bowling Green, Kentucky, lives on the Green River. He's got a flat bottom boat with about a, I don't know, 9.5 horsepower engine on the back of it. And he runs trot lines. He'll run 40 hooks on 2 different trot lines and a couple limb lines and a jug line. But he has what he calls his the front person on the boat is the one that takes the fish off the line and all that, and these are women that he does it. And these women from all over the area want to be on his channel on the front of his boat to be able to pull catfish out of the water and stuff. And he'll get there's one girl, she's a social worker from here at Fort Knox, Kentucky. And she's one of the ones that goes down there, and she'll do a video with him, and they go out and they run these trot lines, and they'll pull some nice catfish out of there. And running trot lines is where Ray Van and I, the one of the three of us that started Deer Camp Beach Grove, running trot lines is something Ray and I did on the Salt River for 3 or 4 years, and I did it as a kid with my uncles and my grandfather and all that, run trot lines on the Green River. Ray and I did it on the Salt River, but it's a different type of fishing. And with hook, line, and chill, if you can get past the women on the front of the boat in all kinds of attire, and you could focus on the catfishing and trot lining, it's really enjoyable video. So that's me in a nutshell. That's what I like. That's what I watch. I probably hadn't watched a television show, and I can't remember how long now. It's been a long time since I've actually sat down and watched a series show. If I did watch anything, I watched all of Longmire, all the way to the end. And for those that haven't watched it all the way to the end, you'll love it. I watched The Ranch with Sam Elliott, Danny Masterson, and Ashton Kutcher and all that. And today it was announced that Danny Masterson got 30 years to life in jail. That was certainly sad to hear. I mean, not sad that, I'm absolutely certain he deserved it. It's just sad that it happened, and he was part of that and all that anyway, and I don't want to get into any of that, but I watched The Ranch, and who's not a Yellowstone fan? And my gosh, Yellowstone is driving me nuts right now as to whether or not we're ever going to see the end of it, how it's going to end up, and all that. But I'm like thousands of others out there ready for this thing to kick off, and the other series, the spin-offs, for them to finish up, but aside from those, I think that's been about it. I watch some movies on Netflix every once in a while, but YouTube's the ticket. So I'm gonna wrap this up, and let's talk about my YouTube. I started about a year ago. I'm not doing the things that I need to do to make it, I guess you would say, successful. And if you want to talk about being monetized as part of success, I don't have the subscribers that I need to be monetized. One of the things I'm not doing is creating content and putting it out there on a frequent basis. It's been a while since I've done a video. In fact, I think 4th of July, when I cooked up that Boston butt, was the last one I posted. I've got a couple more that should be up by now, but they're not. I've got about 18, 19 videos out there, and they say really to to build your channel and to get your audience, you need about 35. So I've got a way to go there, and I need to get that picked up. My biggest problem is I want everything to be so perfect. It's like I want to do a video on pallet projects, and one of the biggest pallet projects I got is this barn right here. But I don't want to put it in the video yet because there's little things that I need to clean up and do, and I want it to be just right when I do it. When in reality, I should just go on and do it. Get it done, get it over with, and do it. But the videos I got, to be monetized, you need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 viewing hours. And my viewing hours are in the 27 to 30,000 viewing hours. So I easily have viewing hours. And views in itself, I've got over 62,000 views on these 18 videos. People are watching my stuff, they're just not subscribing. And that's the part I've got to figure out. I got to get more content out there, build up an audience, I guess you could call it. They call it something else. Build up your it's not clientele, but build up your followers, the people who want to watch your videos, and put more stuff out there. I need to quit focus on wanting them to be perfect or whatever, and just get them out there and share with you life down at the barn. And so that's the one thing I got to do. I got pallet projects that I wanted to show you, cooking videos. Man, we're going to throw together some food, and I promise you that. More fishing videos. The deer hunting videos, they're my top views. I mean, my #1 video's got over 26,000 views, and it's a video of the one with all the does that keep coming in and stuff. No kills in the video or anything like that. I think my #2 is rabbit hunting, with the dogs running and a lot. And I certainly will have better rabbit hunting videos this year. I got a GoPro already set up, ready to go. I went through the whole season not knowing that I had a water case on the GoPro, and that it was cutting out the sound and you couldn't hear half the stuff that I was videoing. And most of the video that did come out came off my phone and not off the GoPro. So, but anyway, I'm rambling on again. I wanted to share with you what I thought my top videos are. Check them out. I'll put all of them in the links below. I'll link their channels with it. Give them a try, see what you think. If you like what you see or like what you've heard so far, you can help me out by giving me a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. Doesn't cost you a thing, and it'd help an old man out. So I'm gonna finish up this cigar here. I haven't ate any of this salsa yet, and I'm getting ready to dive into it, finish up my Jack and Coke. And I'll see y'all on the next video. Y'all take care now.